Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I'm so glad you're here because we are diving into something really special today. We're going to unpack a brilliant, thought-provoking piece of work called Grapes and Pillars by Oluyomi Oladavid. If you're the kind of person who loves digging into the fundamental truths about human nature, leadership, and what it actually means to be authentic, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this. This isn't just a random collection of quotes. It is a really profound philosophy about how we build solid foundations in our lives and in society. So get comfortable and let's explore this incredibly contemplative work together.
She kicks things off with this brilliantly simple yet totally undeniable truth. Fruit verifies the tree. I mean, think about it. She's using the literal, unshakable laws of nature to make her point here. As she points out, you just don't find an orange hanging from a mustard plant, right? Apples definitely don't grow on cherry trees, and you're for sure not going to get a mango from a grapevine. Nature simply doesn't lie. She uses this super vivid imagery to boldly state that results, the actual tangible fruit we produce in our lives, are the absolute only true measure of what we're built on. You can walk around claiming to be an apple tree all day long, but if you're dropping cherries, well, the fruit has kind of exposed the truth, hasn't it?
So who exactly is the mind behind these words? Meet Oluyomi Oladavid. She's a Nigerian global development strategist who is deeply passionate about people and driving real systemic transformation. She isn't just sitting in a room writing poetry in a vacuum. She is actively looking at the world, analyzing how societies function, and essentially demanding better, stronger foundations for all of us.
To really grasp her philosophy, it helps to understand where she's coming from. She's driven by this massive love for people and a genuine concern for global development. Her everyday life literally involves generating real-world solutions and trying to influence strategy and policy. She's known for bringing absolute clarity to really complex situations, and, crucially, her work is entirely motivated by her faith. She's very open about the fact that she believes God owns and rules the universe, and she describes him beautifully as the wheel within her wheels. It's exactly this deeply rooted spiritual and strategic foundation that gives her words such incredible weight.
And that background leads us perfectly into our first major theme, which is the demand for authenticity.
Throughout her work, she flat-out demands genuine substance over mere appearances. Whether we're talking about high-level global leadership or just our normal, everyday lives, she argues that the exterior means absolutely nothing if the interior is completely hollow. And she captures that perfectly with this line, "Heart verifies the human." Just like the fruit proves the tree, the heart proves the person. It's such a powerful statement. She's basically telling us that true humanity has nothing to do with our outward achievements or how put together we look. It is proven entirely by the condition and the authenticity of our core, our heart. It really sets the stage for her stark warnings about the fake exteriors we see all the time.
She draws this really sharp contrast between authentic nature and these superficial facades. You know, a wolf can easily throw on some wool, and a robot can be dressed up in human clothing. But does wearing wool suddenly make that wolf a sheep? Does the clothing make the robot a real human being? No way! Absolutely not. She's pointing out that disguises, no matter how elaborate or incredibly convincing they might be, never actually change the true core of a thing. Eventually, that facade is always going to fall away.
Taking that a step deeper into human behavior, she states, will verifies the claim. What she's getting at here is that a person's underlying will, their actual inner motive, is the only thing that validates whatever bold claims they're projecting to the world. You can claim you're doing something for the greater good, but if your underlying will is totally selfish, well, that hidden motive is what truly defines your action.
She brilliantly illustrates these motives in action by breaking down some everyday societal roles. She points out that, at the end of the day, profit is what ultimately drives the trader. Practice is what actually turns the law into a reality, and pomp, that flashy, grand display of importance, is what rules the popular. She strips all the romanticized fluff away from these roles and basically challenges us to look at the undeniable baseline motives that are actually running the show.
So, once that authenticity is established, how exactly does it get tested? Well, that brings us to weathering life's storms.
She uses these fantastic architectural and weather metaphors to test human resilience. Because let's be real, just like a building, our character isn't really proven on a perfectly sunny, calm day, is it? It's proven when the dark clouds start rolling in. Climate verifies the house. I just love that concept. Her belief is that you simply do not know the true strength of a structure, or a person, or a policy, or even a whole nation, until it is tested by its surrounding environment. The climate didn't build a house, but it absolutely verifies if the builders actually did their jobs right. Let's look at exactly how she breaks these environmental tests down. First up, she notes that rains expose the leak. This is her first storm metaphor, and it's a great one. Think about gentle but super persistent rains. They aren't violent, right? But they are constant. In our own lives, these are those persistent, everyday pressures that inevitably seep in and reveal our hidden little flaws. You probably won't notice a tiny crack in your roof on a dry Tuesday, but that slow, steady rain, it's going to find it every single time.
Then, the intensity really builds. She writes, "Floods swipe the dust." Floods are not gentle. They are sudden, they're overwhelming, and they're incredibly forceful. When a massive flood comes rushing through, it violently washes away all those superficial, dusty layers we've managed to accumulate. It clears out all the nonsense, and it only leaves behind what is heavy, what's grounded, and what is truly anchored in place.
Finally, to cap off this rapid sequence, she states, "Winds check the pillar." Heavy, howling winds don't just wash away the surface dust. They actually test the sheer structural integrity of our core pillars. If your foundation is weak, a strong enough wind is just going to push you right over. It is the ultimate final test of everything she's been saying about having an authentic, rock-solid core.
So, after those storms pass, how do we actually carry our wisdom out into the world? Well, it requires the pursuit of wisdom.
She asserts that speech verifies the voice. Look, anyone can make noise, right? We all know people who can talk all day. Anyone can claim to have this powerful voice or a huge platform. But her argument is that the actual substance of what we say, the truth, the wisdom, the utility of our speech, is literally the only thing that validates the power of the voice we claim to have. If the speech is totally empty, then the voice is meaningless.
Now, to make sure our speech isn't empty, she points to a few specific virtues. Take a look at how she defines insight. Insight studies the pattern. She uniquely frames insight not as some magical, sudden flash of genius, but as this very deliberate, careful ability to study patterns over a long period of time. This is absolutely a vital skill she uses in her own complex strategy work. You simply can't fix massive global development issues without studying the deep historical patterns first.
Right alongside insight is diligence, and she defines this so beautifully. Diligence courts the source. I absolutely love that phrasing. She's defining diligence as more than just clocking in and working hard. She sees it as this relentless, almost romantic pursuit to court the source of truth and knowledge. It's all about bypassing the quick, superficial answers and digging until you find the absolute root cause of an issue.
And when you're applying that kind of diligence, how we behave becomes super crucial. She points out that haste can be faulty. When we just rush into things without taking the time to study the patterns or court the source, we make mistakes. But patience can be orderly. Being deliberate and strategically waiting actually establishes order and makes sure your foundation is laid correctly.
And that practice of patience leads to this incredibly profound thought. Silence can be authentic. Let's just sit with that one for a second. In a world where literally everyone is shouting at the top of their lungs just to be heard, where pomp totally rules the popular, her wisdom suggests that sometimes true authenticity is found not in speaking at all, but in this deliberate, incredibly powerful silence. It's about knowing when your sheer presence is enough, without feeling the desperate need to just fill the air with empty words.
But we have to bring all these metaphors back into the real world. Because for her, this isn't just nice poetry. This is a literal philosophy for transformation.
Remember, Oluyomi Ola-David is a global development strategist, and she drops this amazing reminder of who the ultimate judge is. History verifies the tale. We can sit here and spin whatever fancy narrative we want in the present moment, but history is ultimately going to judge the truth of our stories. And as we're all out here working to make that history a positive one, she adds this really beautiful note that a yoke shares the burden. True systemic transformation is really heavy work, but when we yoke ourselves together, when we actually collaborate authentically, we significantly lighten the burden of that work.
So, to bring this all together, we can see exactly how her deep philosophical metaphors are directly fueling her mission. She uses all of these concepts to generate actual, real-world solutions. She demands authentic action because she knows firsthand that facades always fail. She embraces trials because they're the only things that test our structural foundations and expose our leaks. And she insists that having true wisdom means having the patience to study patterns and court the source. This is exactly how she provides such absolute clarity for leaders and policymakers.
Which brings us to our final thought for the day. I want to turn her philosophy directly over to you. If, As she so powerfully states, the fruit really does verify the tree. What solutions are you generating to verify yours? What is the actual output of your life, your work, and your leadership telling the world about your foundation? It's a pretty massive question, but it's for sure one well worth answering. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today to explore Oluyomi Oladevid's incredible insights. Keep studying those patterns, stay authentic, and I'll see you on the next explainer.